What's up guys? A lot of you have asked my opinion on Palafin recently, so I'm making this video to explain my thoughts and give my opinion on whether it should drop to OU or stay in Ubers. For those of you that don't know, Palafin is a Pokemon with two forms. Its starting form is a fairly weak little dolphin, and if it enters the field, leaves the field, and enters again, it will return as this monstrosity. It has a signature move, Jet Punch, which is a +1 priority water type move that has 60 base power, extremely strong for an unconditional priority move. Now, let's look at the main sets Palafin has been using. The first is a simple choice band set. It runs Flip Turn, Jet Punch, Wave Crash, and Close Combat, although some opt to run Ice Punch to answer the increasing presence of Hydrapple and other grass types. The other significant set is Bulk Up, which runs Bulk Up, Jet Punch, and then some combination of Drain Punch, Ice Punch, Terra Blast, Taunt, Encore, and Rest. The item is typically Leftovers, Covert Cloak, Mental Herb, or Chesto Berry. There's also a special set using Terra Normal Throat Spray Boom Burst, but I don't think that set will have any significant usage or impact on the metagame, so I'm going to disregard it for the rest of the video. First, let's address Choice Band. This set is pretty simple, it hits hard, and has strong priority. The main concern with this set is also simple. Is it too strong? The people that are concerned about Choice Band normally show calcs of Terra, Water, Adamant, Banded, Wave Crash, and to be honest, they are pretty shocking. Wave Crash with Terra Water is doing 50 to 60% to max defense Sinistra, easily two-shotting Dragonite with multi-scale intact, and getting the guaranteed one-hit KO on Dragapult. Still, we've got to consider that this is a banded Pokemon that has used Terra. Getting a bunch of crazy calcs is sort of par for the course under such circumstances. To get these calcs, Palafin will have to enter the field, leave, enter again, and use Terra on top of taking Wave Crash Recoil. Palafin also doesn't have incredible speed. If Palafin chooses to run a Jolly Nature, it's only hitting 328, which is far from speedy in OU. On top of that, Water is a type with many viable resistances, including already high usage Pokemon like Ogerpon Wellspring, Raging Bolt, Dragonite, and Kyurem. Palafin also has to deal with more niche picks like Hydrapple and water absorbers like Claude's Iron Volcanion. The Choice Band set is powerful, but it has answers in the tier and in lower tiers. Does that mean it's okay though? Well, let's look at the metagame impact. What does the addition of Choice Band Palafin do to OU? Let's look at the archetypes that will handle it easily and those that won't. Obviously, Stall won't mind at all. It has Alomomola, Toxapex, and Dondozo. No banded Palafin will be doing anything to a Stall team, with the possible exception of Rain, but Rain will continue to be a fairly weak playstyle, Palafin or not. That means Palafin getting unbanned will make Stall better, at least from the lens of the Choice Band set. Teams in the range of semi-stall to balance likely won't be able to handle banded Palafin very well. Alomomola sometimes fits on these teams, but Palafin being unbanned would undoubtedly cause a rise in usage of Ogerpon Wellspring, making Alomomola a liability even more often than it already is. Bulky offense won't mind much. It already utilizes a lot of Pokemon that are some of Palafin's strongest counters, like Ogerpon Wellspring, Raging Bolt, Kyurem, and Dragonite. Bulky offense will likely become better as a result of Palafin being unbanned. How about Hyper Offense? Hyper Offense does often run Ogerpon Wellspring, but it's going to hate how many sweepers will be taken down by Choice Band Jet Punch. Iron Moth, Iron Valiant, Kingambit, Iron Crown, Darkrai, and Roaring Moon are just a few of the sweepers that really don't appreciate a powerful priority move like Jet Punch. Hyper Offense will undoubtedly get worse as a result of Choice Band Palafin. You could argue that Hyper Offense will get a new toy by being able to use Palafin itself, but given Palafin has to enter and exit to become a real Pokemon, it probably won't be an HO staple. Hyper Offense teams hate having to switch, which is why sacking is such a built-in part of the best HO teams. Bulky Offense is likely going to utilize Palafin far more often. Even if it does find its way onto some HO teams, it will definitely be a significant net negative for HO. So, just looking at the Choice Band set, if Palafin is unbanned, the winners are Stall and Bulky Offense, and the losers are semi-stall, balance, and hyper offense. In the current metagame, the best archetype is already bulky offense, and bulkier team structures are floundering. Hyper offense is viable in the current metagame, but not as strong or consistent as bulky offense. Palafin will make that gap wider. That makes sense. If you add another really powerful offensive threat to the tier, it's going to be harder to build bulky teams that can answer that increasingly long list of threats, and easier to just use teams that can apply enough pressure to not have to worry about long-term switch-ins. At the same time, the team can't be so frail that it gets mowed down by all the strong priority in the tier, now with Jet Punch tacked onto that list. Bulky offense is simply the natural winner. Ultimately, although I don't think Choice Banded Palafin is broken, or even a particularly fantastic Pokemon, it will be an unhealthy presence in the tier that will make all the current metagame disparities and problems in SVOU even worse. Now, let's look at the Bulk Up set. Bulk Up is a bit less consistent than Choice Band since it doesn't offer immediate power. Instead, you're relying on your chosen coverage and item to sweep your opponent. Bulk Up Palafin is very hit or miss. Without any reliable recovery, it can't come in over and over again, so it fits best on teams with powerful breakers to soften up the opponent's team for a potential late-game sweep. Unfortunately, Bulk Up Palafin is one of those Pokemon that can beat almost anything if it has the right set. If you're relying on Alomomola Scaldburn, you better hope you don't run into Covert Cloak or Resto Chesto. If you're hoping Ogerpon Encore will save you, pray it's not Mental Herb, or it won't just catch you on the switch. If you're hoping a dragon type like Hydrapple and Raging Bolt will do it, well, I hoped that once, and then I got hit by Terra Blast Fairy. Maybe you're counting on Wisp Dragapult? Well, Resto Chesto and Terra Fire have got that covered. Now before you go into the comments and type out a message about what a bad argument that is, hold off, because I'm not saying Bulk Up Palafin is broken. We have a ton of Pokemon in the tier that can pretty much beat anything with the right Terra type already. Bulk Up Palafin is just the latest addition. The right Terra Blast on a DD Kyurem, or Dragonite, or the right Terra type and moveset on Roaring Moon, and any team is cooked. The question is, how often will Palafin realistically end up being the perfect set that your counter won't work? Something like Dragonite has a lot of answers that work almost all the time. Sure, sometimes your defensive Great Tusk gets hit with a Hurricane, or the Dragonite goes for Substitute as your Moltres tries to use Will-O-Wisp, but how often does that really happen? To be honest, not that often. That's why as a community, most have decided that Dragonite is okay. There is a Dragonite set that beats every team, but you'll almost never run into the set that beats yours. If you prepare for the common sets, that'll probably work. There is a point, though, where the odds of your typical answer being overwhelmed are intolerably high. At the moment, I don't think we have enough data to know if Palafin will be one of those cases. Personally, though, I would guess it would be a similar case to Dragonite. Common bulk up sets would probably emerge, and yeah, sometimes your Raging Bolt would get blown up by Terra Blast Fairy, or your Ogerpon would encore on a Mental Herb set and then get nuked by close combat, but mostly, you'd have a bulk up answer, and it would work 80 or 90% of the time. Frankly, I don't think bulk up Palafin sets are even that great. There are so many ways to counter it, and while it can circumvent any of these counters with a certain item, Terra type, and moveset, it still won't be able to cover the vast majority. With Pokemon like Ogerpon Wellspring, Raging Bolt, Alomomola, Pecharunt, Zapdos, Dragapult, and Zamazenta out there, even if you choose to beat some, you're going to lose to most. The question for me, though, is not whether Bulk Up Palafin is broken or even good. The question is, will this make the metagame better? Do I want this Pokemon in OU? Even if it's not a particularly good chance of having the right set that beats whatever your counter is, do we want to have another one of those Pokemon in the tier? Let's look at its effect on archetypes once again. Stall finds Bulk Up Palafin even easier to deal with than Choice Band. Almost every bulk up set is getting farmed by Body Press Dondozo. Teams in the semi-stall to balance range, I expect will have the toughest time with Bulk Up Palafin. Unlike more offensive builds, they won't have the option of applying pressure and overpowering Palafin before it can set up too much. They'll have to rely on defensive answers, and hope this specific Palafin isn't the right set that smokes them. Bulky offense, once again, wins. It handles this even easier than Choice Band sets, since Pokemon like Ogerpon Wellspring, Raging Bolt, and Kyurem have an even easier time pressuring bulk up sets. Hyper Offense, like before, won't enjoy the strong priority, but it will definitely be more manageable than Choice Band, since bulk up Palafin won't be nearly as effective as a revenge killer. Similar to Choice Band, bulk up Palafin likely won't be used on many Hyper Offense teams, with the possible exception of Sticky Web. Bulk up Palafin is a theoretically solid fit for Sticky Web, given Wellspring will be slowed down and unable to use Encore. Also, it threatens Cinderace with a Jet Punch one-shot, blocking Court Change. Still, Web's teams hate having to bring it out to activate Hero Form, so there are probably better options. Now, if we sum up the metagame impact of these two sets, here's what we get. Stall gets better, Semi-Stall gets worse, Balance gets worse, Bulky Offense gets better, and Hyper Offense gets worse. If you want to see Ogerpon Wellspring Bulky Offense teams dominate the metagame even more than they already are, unbanning Palafin is the way to go. In summary, I don't think Palafin is broken. I don't think Palafin would be a top tier if it was unbanned. I'm not even convinced it would be particularly good. I could see it rotting in the low usage brackets of OU, considered inconsistent due to Wellspring and for being a breaker that can't break Stall. That being said, I'm confident it would have a negative impact on the tier and make the metagame more boring to build and battle in. Before I wrap this up, thank you to Evito for his analysis on which Pokemon would get better and worse with a Palafin unban. It was a great read, and it really helped me gather my thoughts. I'll be linking that metagame discussion post in the description, and if you want to read other people's thoughts on Palafin, you can find it there. Please let me know if you agree or disagree and why down in the comments. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.